and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this energy update for the month of April. I made some notes so that I don't forget what I want to talk about for this month. But first of all, I want to say I'm really excited about this month because I've been receiving guidance since maybe about 2 months that April will be very special for many of us. And that, when we say special, sometimes it has, and I said that is a beautiful yellow butterfly coming to greet us, which is true. It's a confirmation that and when I tuned into this month, I saw yellow, which is the color of spring, because the first energy that initiates is that fresh new beginnings. It's that yellowish version of the color green, and I've talked about this before, so it's the initiation of our inner new birth. And so when we say something special is to occur, a lot of us, the first thing we have to think about usually that we start thinking about is something external happening, like an event we maybe anticipated, or something that would just change the course of our life or alter something. But the thing is, if we are still looking at the word special from a connotation of an external attachment to something that we perceive as an event that will make our lives better, refine our lives for the better, without us doing the inner work first, then we're clearly still engaging in that old, which is kind of being in the mode of the victim, of the passive waiter, someone who just a standby, person. We're just waiting for something magical to occur without us constantly tuning into that inner magic that we basically are as divine beings, co-creators here with this human realm of experience. So as we're cultivating our life force and bringing heaven down onto the earth, it's very important that when we think of something as special, magical, beautiful, divine, that it becomes an inner essence first. And I've been talking about the importance of living through our essence on a creation level since the beginning of this new year quite intensely. So what are some of the highlights I'm going to talk about in this video? What I want to mention about, well, first of all, if you know and watched my previous videos, at the end of March we had a very intense Easter gateway coming up, which always deals with the energy of crucifixion and how we perceive to be crucified on this planet. So how we perceive to be cut off from something that is less than full source activation, less than full source beingness, and our version of reality. And for this year, the energy was especially intensified, and I'm sure that many of you have been feeling many physical symptoms, or just that your body wanted to rest more at the end of March, towards the first days of April. So it really is the kind of space that, whenever we integrate something, it feels less magical than when we activate something new, because we go deep into the roots of this planet and dealing sometimes often with the activation of our inner shadow and how it applies on our human life. Because we will be always given certain things that we will still perceive as obstacles. When the certain gateway comes, things will come up to the surface, and for a lot of us, because we're healing this collective timelines through our own personal timelines integration, we will see that most of this work will be done through relationships, because the relationships are our fastest mirror. They show us where the application of our knowledge can take shape and form. So we're going to be presented with many things, and we were doing that. And a lot of us, because we were still dealing with a lot of emotional heartbreaks that were coming to our surface, well, like emotional roller coasters. It depends on the intensity, where you are in your journey of awareness and integration of your soul and this physical experience. But still, for all of us collectively, those of us who are choosing this personal path of physical ascension, we may have felt like this in March. And March had that 12-3 numerology, which is the hangman also, and there was a lot of reversals, and we need to look at things from upside down perspective, which also can mean that time was slowing down, or it was perceived as slowing down, and a lot of us felt more restful and peaceful, more time to not do so much during March, and April is going to lift that off. We're going to resurge into something new. But whenever this is so, sometimes we have this fear of when we're in the void, because when you're full of creativity and your life force is glowing and you know what you to do and you're full of these excited ideas and what you want to do in your projects, then you feel so magical. But when the integration hits us, sometimes we're still wondering. Our mind still doesn't know how to place this. It still wants to box it in. A lot of times we perceive obstacles as hurdles or blockages, but they're not really blockages. They really just are implying that there's our own personal timeline, our own divine timing that we're choosing. And we need to follow it. We need to follow the energy. Like if our bodies are feeling more fatigued, they're probably integrating something. And a lot of people are still questioning that. And they think there's something wrong with them. And they want to boost their system with different things and supplements and all of that. I'm not saying that natural or herbal supplements are bad for our bodies. I'm saying that we're not supposed to seek to always alter our natural biorhythms because they have messages for us. They're showing us where our body is. So if you're tired and you want to boost your system forcefully so you can have a physical activity that you're used to engaging with or in a way that you're used to engaging with, and then your body will say no. But after taking certain supplements, you're going to say, okay, now maybe I'm going to say yes. So for us to become really attuned to our organic biorhythms, our ascended life form, we need to plug off that matrix, which in a way is still we want to alter our bodies. The key of physical ascension, when I say physical, means it takes place in a physical body. So that we listen both to our body and the soul as one communication vehicle for us. It's a merged unity consciousness of the soul and body, the soul in human form. So that's the whole point of human ascension, is to be completely organic as human beings without those artificial means that sometimes get us to be not so organic. So sometimes because of that resting periods that come, we're going to be more invited to take a look at, are we really honoring that voice of the body or not? Are we having huge doubt moments when this happens, when we don't feel fully productive? And I've been talking a lot about the energy of productivity. It's an old energy. It's the need to constantly do something, to produce, to create a lot of byproducts. A lot of the times this is huge entropy for the environment. So this yellow, this new beginnings, this theme, this highlight for the month of April is also a new beginning of how we flow with slower moving energies and faster moving energies, in these pulsating rhythms. Because when you look at the nature of our sun, how it pulsates, sometimes we have CMEs to create solar flares, sometimes we don't. So it's really the same thing. So we're activated, then we integrate. And activation and integration, I've been talking about this constantly in my videos. So if you've been with me for many years now, you know that this is my most stressed topic, is how to learn your own body needs and communication system so that you know which phase of integration you're in. And as human beings, we're always going to perceive things as challenges or obstacles. But the thing is to alter our awareness about it, because when our awareness is coming from the ascended perspective, we don't see things as hurdles anymore, as obstacles. We see them as divine opportunities, just the same as you have an amazing epiphany or opportunity, creativity stirred deep within you. So this month we have actually, because this Easter gateway cleansed a lot for us, there was a huge purification, and it occurred right after the eclipse season, which was very intense. We had all these equinox, eclipse, Easter, so 3 E's. Imagine how intense this was for us, and that's why probably March was so much more about the hang, the reverse perspective, because we needed to rest more. Our bodies were receiving so much. And a lot of us who have moved beyond just the activation phase and the ascending part of our physical ascension, but we move down into descension so we can co-create with this new paradigm template we are now existing within. We feel more earthed, and maybe we don't have so much these profound meditation, out-of-body experiences that we used to. Or I had for years these light activations and with beings and pulsating lights, and then after a while I didn't have them anymore, and I thought, was something wrong with me now? And when I had them, I wanted them to go away. You see, as humans, we're never fully satisfied. We're always wanting something different. And I feel this month is about full acceptance, whether we want to just be and accept life as it is, loving it fully. Because if we don't like even one aspect of it, we're always going to have to repeat. It's not about repeating lessons, it's just repeating that, being in that essence so we can learn to love it fully. And that's what life is about, to love it so fully that it can transcend onto a new level of existence. And that's what we're doing with our physical ascension. A lot of us are saying, we're done with the old paradigm. We no longer wish to live that way. Now we want to live in a new way. And how do we create that? Well, we need to engage with that. We need to engage with life in a new way. So I've been feeling more intensely than ever before this energy of separation between the old worlds and new worlds. And the bridge of our ascension is we're always going to be a little bit of crossing here and there until we really integrate it fully, until we know where we are vibrationally. So we live in this physical world, but we're going to be higher dimensional beings. That's what it's about. And this energy of separation, the more we are choosing that, the more we're choosing this higher refined state of being, we'll feel like we're saying goodbye to different people, to different situations, but what's behind it is saying goodbye to the old reality. Just recently I've told my mom about this person. I said, wow, I felt like when I was with them, I'm saying goodbye to them. And she said, well, basically it's saying goodbye to the old, because certain people that we were maybe in the past we were in love with, we had beautiful exchange, certain soulmates on our path, different relationships. And then, if you remember, I spoke about this in March. We're going to have that return to innocence, and we're going to have the completion of something we were activating in our relationships maybe during our entire lifetime, many lifetimes even, because it's a sequential paradox in truth. Our reality is not just this lifetime, it's a build-up of energy. So if we had that feeling, you know, and the return and the reconciliation, remember I talked about that essence, it was basically about really to move us into the space of full acceptance, but not just acceptance of what was, but the acceptance of what we're choosing now. And for me, it's this organic pathway, simple life, nature, freedom. If I'm not free to do what I want in each moment because it comes from a higher refined creativity, and instead I feel I'm coming from a need and lack and fear, I'm really still not, you know, I'm still in between spaces, which is fine. You know, a lot of us have this, and it's perfect because we're learning to kind of, you know, we take a bit of that old, we bring it to the new, and it's kind of, you know, like firemen, they're passing water, right, from one to the other. So we're kind of like taking a little bit of what we learned from the old, take it in the new world with us, and again and again. So this is why we're feeling this energy, perhaps in this way. But this month we have a 13-4 numerology vibration, which is a lot about stability in our material form. So again, we're going to be building new foundations. 4 is also the Emperor in Tarot, and I've been talking a lot about the shift from the High Priestess to the Creatrix, which is the Empress. So the Emperor, Empress is almost like that sense of creating our own sacred space and feeling such joy and magic emanating from it, because our sacred spaces will become the future, the templates for the future generations, which will become more physical, like physical communities of that space. It takes time to bring that higher refined energy from the ethereal into matter. It does, in a way. But from a timeless perspective, we're already living it. It's already, in essence, is true for us. We just feel it so deeply, and that's why a lot of us are here to pave that way. And to pave the way means to go somewhere that we haven't gone before as humanity, as a species, as a collective of souls. So also this month, because there's a lot of retrograde energy, we've had already at the end of March, the 25th, Saturn going retrograde. And you know, Saturn is all about responsibility, earthly commitments, what we wish to achieve. It's the ruler of Capricorn, which is about work and dedication and that maturity reflected in our form. So I call it the retrograde month because Saturn went, and now we're going to have Mars retrograding, which will be on the 17th, and the day after Pluto, on the 18th, which is almost sequentially, it's amazing. And then at the end of the month, I think it's the 28th, Mercury will go retrograde as well. So it's a retrograde month for sure, but it's not in a way to feel less energized. I think it's because we now, everything that we have been going through, and for me, there were 3 months of this resting period. I mean, I was doing my work just the same, but the energy wasn't so productive as when I'm at my highest expression. And even my highest expression is constantly shifting because I'm shifting in this human form. So our highest is always different, higher, more refined. Excuse me, there was a lot of wind, so I had to start up the video again. What I was saying is that we're constantly shifting, and we need to take notice of where we are. And for me, definitely 3 months were more the inwardly months, and everything I wished to achieve was more happening inside my my envisionary senses. And there's a difference between creating through that visuals, you know, just having the visuals, and that's almost like a little forced, and by envisioning. So the energy of envisioning is when you really can envision that what's really that nearsighted future for you, not that far distant future which is too much somewhere you cannot grasp it at this time, but something that is right and right for this moment, in this now moment. This is what we were learning through these more inwardly based periods of time. And towards the end of the month of March, there was almost like this culmination of this void. It was just too much of it. For a lot of you, it might have felt like, who am I? What do I do now? How do I proceed? And this is because we're receiving add-ons to our purpose. I'm going to talk about this in the end of the video, but I also want to talk about how we actually are now in this 13-4 vibration, shifting from that change perspective and what we gain from it, that altered perspective, and how can we now apply it so that we can start doing new creations. And this is typical for the Aries energy, which is the seeding of new life. Our new astrological year finally really begins when the April is really seeded. So also many astrologers were saying that April is going to be a month of, again, deepened partnership and romance, love, creativity. And, you know, I always apply this to the beloved path, which is basically all that we are. We're always on this path. But apparently there's supposed to be some configurations that are going to, this partnership energy that we were already seeding in March, and that's why maybe we were drawn away a bit from creating just these material things and forms, but creating more these unions and bonds with others. And a lot of times why the old flames or the old scenarios were coming up, even situations that people are saying, I'm moving back to my past or my relatives, or I'm reuniting with something, or a lost aspect of me. You know, in the dream symbology, an X means not just reconciliation, but being reacquainted with a lost aspect of our soul, which means we were revisiting things that maybe before we kind of put a little bit to the side, and they were returning for us to see that certain things maybe we didn't need at a certain time, but now we will need this more than ever so before. So this partnership energy is becoming stronger, and each month I think it just goes deeper. So in April I feel a lot of this beloved energy, and as I was asking myself and doing the tarot, the main archetypes for this month, and I was asking for the main energy of the April, and then I was shuffling the cards and I look up. At the same time, there were two yellow butterflies that were kind of swirling together up into the sky. So this shows this archetype of the two beings being lifted up in their frequency. So we're kind of all assisting each other to lift higher in vibration, because it all comes down to our vibration. This is what we embody. This physical aspect is what we're choosing. It's not just about teachings. It's no longer just about teaching, and the spiritual esoteric subject is no longer just a subject. It has to be a life choice. Otherwise you're not ascended if you're not choosing it on all levels. So choosing it with your life, choosing it with your whole body, that's what ascension is. So these physical unions, some people talked about that during the spring gateway, there will be many physical unions taking place, also through divine intervention. And online I've seen this video about a twin flame or twin soul prophecy, and I don't like that word, because prophecy takes us away from the self-prophecy, which is, you know, there's a difference between the external prophecy of the general collective and your own soul timeline and the choice of that timeline. So make note of that. See what the word prophecy does when you even think about it. For me, it feels very old. Because when you become a master of the self, you're beyond the collective prophecy. You become a master of your own destiny. That's what it's all about. So, you know, these reunions or unions, they're always taking place according to where you are in your soul. So in this template, in this prophecy I've heard, someone talked about some people being woken up too early, apparently in 2012 and 2013, and they didn't know how to deal with the energy, and the person said, well, maybe the universe made a mistake by waking these beings up too fast. They weren't able to handle the intensity, the maturity, the inner work that has to be done for the true reunion. And I was a bit appalled, and I thought, how can the universe make a mistake? It's still a lack of perspective here. So we can receive visions and prophecies or psychic attunements, but if we don't really understand what they mean, we're still not going to be able to work with them through our mastery. So there are no mistakes in the universe. There's no mistakes in our refined essence. Everything is within the divine order. It's just that we physically need to move to the understanding and embodiment of what it means to live with the divine order, divine will. We become a conscious co-creator with the destined realm. So a lot of beings are now shifting from the karmic choices into the destined chosen choices. So the destined realms are the realms of love and wisdom. And I talk about that, I teach about that in my multidimensional ascension course, most specifically there, and I explain these levels. So a lot of souls are choosing now to finally complete this. So if you imagine, for 2 years now, or maybe 3 years, we had very intense cardinal crosses, especially during the April gateway. And it was so intense, but this is the first year when this cross is not really that intense, but we have different aspects now. So what we have already mastered now, okay, now let's shift into the new direction, and the universe is shifting us, but the universe never makes, the greater self, the wholeness of all of ourselves never makes mistakes, because everything is intertwined within great divine complexity and at the same time simplicity of unity consciousness. So why these beings were awake and maybe they couldn't handle it? Because they had inner work to do. You have to wake up first so that you actually begin to do the work. You cannot do it asleep. So there are no mistakes, and there's a lot of beings who felt called to the so-called twin flame path and inner work path, whatever it is about, but because they were returning to the self. And everything we need to integrate on our human level to become masters of the self. So there's no mistakes. And when we say prophecy, does it really stand for us? What kind of expectations do we have when we hear the word prophecy? Oh, twin flame prophecy. That we become again attached to dates and timelines that are fixed and rigid. You know, we really, on this path of mastery, we become conscious participants with life. And we know what we want, but we also trust that our divine source is playing this game, that it's so beautifully interwoven that we don't always see everything as just our human part. But we feel it. It's almost like we feel something is already true for us, but we get confused on the mental level because we don't see evidence of it yet. Don't do that. As a master of the self, trust the essence. The essence is always your main go-to thing, you know, it's always your first primary inner guidance. It drives your life force forward. Everything else manifests naturally in divine timing as your essence is more and more like being showered and dropped into this physical expression and existence. So windy again. Having trouble with my notes and my microphone, but I hope you can still hear me well. So for me, what these astral highlights actually mean is this deepened intimacy, because we're deepening. We're getting deeper. So we're moving through these heartbreaks, heart crushes, beliefs we have about love in the human form. Recently I got a question from someone asking me, does the twin flame merge only truly occur in the higher realms, even though we might be physically present of it, but at the same time simultaneously the only true union is always in the higher realms? Well, yes and no, because in the higher realms everything already is. You're already reunited. Why would you need to reunite there? That's the whole thing. But our essence here of our ascension journey is, once we decide to move from the karmic into the destined, chosen, ascended mastery path, we're going to have to live that out physically. So we're actually wanting to bring and live out that inner paradise, the higher realms paradise, into our physicality. So why would that be separate? Why would you separate an experience of the higher realms or ethereal presence with the physicality? I used to think the same often, and I said, how is it possible? Because the human template is still so distorted, or people said the earth is not ready to support this, or this and that. But you are also your own chosen master. So when you choose this, eventually it really does become your reality, because you're laser beaming your focus into it. So these twin soul kind of love, which is the love of all life in creation, the love of unity consciousness, the principle of your merged polarity. Take my course on mastering divine polarity in twin soul. It's because I explain what it's really all about. It's beyond all this drama, you know, and people looking at it still so superficially. It's beyond this. It's mastering, becoming our own beloved on all levels, and then we bring this heaven to the planet from ourselves, from our own sacred space, where the beautiful spaces are being created from. It's from us. And then the living extensions of our reality will just reflect that. And of course, eventually we'll have physical enlightened partnerships. So I see it as the twin flame, the twin soul, as an essence But our physical experience of it on a human level is the enlightened partnership. So what we did on our mental level, because we couldn't understand this intensity, we couldn't understand what this love is about, our spiritual maturity and sovereignty was still lacking, it was still inadequate for us to have that full frontal understanding. We created this illusion, this ideal, you know, so we wanted that twin flame, which we perceive from the higher realms. We kind of projected this into one person. But what we really want is the essence of that twin soul love, which is our union within, to be physically brought as heaven on earth through the essence of, not just the essence, but the energy, which is the living expression of sacred partnership, of devotional partnership, of enlightened partnership, sacred partnership. So that's what it was all about. And when we get that simplicity, all else just naturally, magically unfolds. There's no more drama, there's no more prophecy, it's just your own choice. If you're choosing it, it means you're going to take the steps towards your full physical embodiment. If you're not, it might still remain just an aspect in your mind. You know, I've had people who were writing to me, "Oh, Polona, oh, you're my twin flame because I got the sign from the universe. This thing happened." I'm like, people are still so living in that obsession and idolizing someone. They don't even know that person. These people don't even know me. They don't know me who I am in real life. They're just taking what they see, they project, they kind of live in that Neptunian utopia. Well, that's the utopia that's unrealistic. That's an illusion. And they create something and they think that's the physical reality. No. The physical reality is what we're actually creating, not a wishful thinking. So be careful of that. That's not really awareness. That's an illusion, distortion of your mind. That's a lot of times it can get very mental if you don't observe what you're actually doing to yourself. And a lot of these people who create that, they actually constantly live in the head. They don't really live an awakened, enlightened life. They think they do, but it's all happening in their head. But the reality does not yet reflect that. So be careful of that. Watch for that. Watch for that distortion. So that question, I think, was really beautiful and important because now we're becoming an integrated aspect of that. So just feel how simple it is. Imagine your twin soul union. You're already united. There is no need to reunite on, you know, you're already united. But to have a physical experience through the experience of enlightened partnership here. And those of us who have been doing it through our own self-mastery first, we're going to do it without the drama and the distortions. And maybe there's beings who've said, I want to grow up, I want to spiritually mature, so I need a little bit of drama to push me in that direction, which was another path, which is also perfect. That's all I'm saying. But in the truth, it's all about that translation of essence into matter. Twin flame, twin soul, whatever you perceive, enlightened partnership, sacred devotional partnership. What are you devoted to through spirit? How can you co-create through spirit? It's so simple, really. When you're in truth, when you live in truth, life will be simple. You won't create these complex concepts that will drive you away from that truth. You will simplify. So this prophecy versus our own soul timeline, again, watch for that. If you're too much living outside of you, you're watching every single video, what people are saying about this month, that month, your personal astrological sign, there's still so much generalization. Maybe if something's repetitive, it will be a message for you, but watch for when you get too much tuned into that. What Spirit guided me to do at the end of March was just to plug away from everything to just find, again, that space of self-alignment. That's all we need, self-alignment. Sometimes we're fearful that if we miss out on a certain information, certain thread of something, we're going to lose perception over something, and we're going to fall behind, or we're not going to know everything. That's fear. That's fear consciousness. We already are everything. Our soul already knows everything, okay? So trust yourself. And sometimes our human manifestation takes time. It's not the same as, we already feel it as an essence, and that's why for us it might be feeling like a frustration when everything is not always like that, how we feel it. But the essence is our truth. The physical manifestation is just like a beautiful play. So I had some technical difficulties with the wind, and my camera actually shut off, so I had to record this second part of the video separately. Where I left was just telling you that things in our life, in our reality, really need to play out naturally. So the organic pathway is something I've been talking about for months, even years probably. So in the second part of the highlights, I wish to talk more about how we actually are in this new space, because this month it feels like there's this new space opening that we kind of can't put our fingers to it just yet. We've been trying to embrace the void, in our own way, with our own spectrum of, the rainbow of the human experience. But it feels like where we are now, this void has a new add-on to it, and that's why we're receiving new add-ons to our purpose. It's learning to use our skills in a new way, because that transcendence comes from mastering something to its completion, and it's the inner perfectionist that it's not really even to be judged about, or thinking, well, the perfectionist in us is not divine, it's just mental illusion, but in a way it just drives us forward. It wants to create new life, so it's all kind of like our motivation. But our journey, eventually we always find out that it's this created from these segments that kind of compile together, and sometimes even though we feel all of our resources and gifts were not yet being able to be fully used in this new template, but we have to have that faith and trust to move us forward. There will come a divine timing. There will come this utilization of these add-ons to our purpose, and I'll be talking about this as well. But I want to move into the tarot, the highlights for the tarot. I've had this session with a beautiful being I discovered just this year on YouTube, and I never ever get sessions, but I had this nudge in my heart, and I said, why not? I'm going to try something new. And what came out just in the April 1st was this beautiful blossoming of full creation. And as the person was tuning into me and what I share and where I am currently, she said the same thing. It's this brand new space. We don't even have words for it. And how I felt the same for a few weeks, because as I've shared, these 3 months for me was a cycle of letting go some of the old things I was doing. Not saying I won't do it, but I will do it in a more new, refined way, which also I'm going to reveal some of that at the end of the video about something new that's available on my end. But it's really important that we know that every single step of the way is guided. Whatever it is, there's no blockages. There's no such thing as we're not supported. It's just the doubts that we're really in our knowing we know that they're false, but we still experience them as a human being. And when we did this reading for me, and this guidance, it was done through tarot as well, the person shared with me that they once met someone who said, oh, I don't use tarot, it was too dark. And we spoke a lot about this game of light and darkness, because in this whole game of New Age, there's a lot of judgment of what we perceive as dark, but it's only our perceptions. So where we are now, a lot of us, we don't feel a belonging anymore to any particular group. We don't belong to the New Age. We've really separated ourselves from it. We're not separate from anything. It's just that the way we're aware of life, it doesn't belong to that confined space. We're not in the dogmatic and religious circles. We're not in the atheism circles. We're creating our new circle for the pioneering souls, or really creating these new pathways. And I know it's kind of hard to talk about these things, and especially because to bring the essence of the ethereal into matter, to merge spirit and matter, is often having to deal with crossing such bridges that are really hard for us to cross. And while a lot of the people were saying, well, the twin flame experience, and because I was talking about this in my video, that's why I'm using this example. This is supposed to be only heavenly and only woo-hoo-hoo and only light-filled. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But there's another attribute that for years and eons even we were judging. For example, what it means to be spiritually but also financially wealthy. How do we use this richness? Not just inner richness, but the being rich and having the resources so we can be fully independent and fully free to roam around the world and co-create with spirit, with other fellow divine human beings. So anything that we still held captive within ourselves, that we believed that it wasn't supposed to be a part of the human experience, but we wanted to cut off from it rather than integrate it, it will come back to us. And past month, in March, with the reversal energy, this really started to come back to us. It's not there to haunt us or to make us go down the memory lane, just having these memories and epiphanies. Every time that happens, it's something there for us to reflect on and use in our integration. And I've shared with you that the X means to reconnect back with the lost aspect of our soul. It doesn't mean it was lost. Everything's always there. It exists. But something that we, for a while, we kind of put aside. until we were ready and fully mature enough. And a lot of us wanted to do self-mastery work before we can enter these sacred, devotional, enlightened partnerships, so call it. And I have here prepared the tarot reading that kind of really corresponds to that, which I feel is really in alignment. So I told you already about the two butterflies moving up to the sky together, but what I received through tarot for this month is, first of all, the Ten of Wands versus the Magician. And this Magician archetype has been coming very strongly for me for weeks now. But what I also saw was that we have a new moon. It's in Aries. It's the 7th of April. And the degree, the galactic Sabian degree, talks about the magic carpet ride. It talks about the magic carpet of the Oriental flavoring. And this means that there's something about our magic, but magic is something that we never fully discover, and now that's it. There's always something more. But where we are now is almost like if what we discovered today in the session was, if you don't fly, you're gonna die in a good way. So sometimes we make choices in accordance to thinking we have them, but in the end, it's something that your soul already choosing, and you're just following through. So it's our lower selves catching up with our higher selves to merge, to have that integration, not to always chase after each other, but to have that union. And that is why a lot of the times our physical bodies also require more rest, contemplation for that integration, so that we can meet up. So you're not always kind of, okay, I'm fast ahead, bye-bye, little suckers, those parts of me that are running after me. It's not a chasing game, it's a merging, bridging game. So for a lot of us, we had relationships that are not just heavenly and blissful and all of that, because a lot of us have chosen this path as pioneers to go through certain trials and tribulations to really merge with every aspect of the human experience. And while maybe other people were having these beautiful prime light-filled experiences, even a lot of us have been choosing pathways that weren't easy. But we said, we're going to do it. And I have this memory of volunteer souls doing that. And we said, we're going to take care of that, because we're going to be the brave ones that there will be no names for us. And I know even a pioneer is a name, and it's a cliche. It's used and outworn like anything else. But that newness that we feel now is beyond words. We can just feel it. And the only thing we can do is just go with it, just flow with it. We don't even need words anymore at this level. It's just that we really embody that. And we integrate it so deeply that none of the experiences are separate anymore, that we really bridge those gaps. Because I told you that there's this bridge that we continue to cross, right? Old to the new, until the link, that the glue is so strong, so firm, that will be easy for others to walk through. But how can we do that? Well, someone has to go first, and that's what we're doing. And for a lot of us, we were choosing to have relationships with such opposites. For example, you come together with a being who is such an opposite of you, and yet there's still a reflection, because they're a reflection of what you, as a conscious master, wanted to integrate for your path. And this goes without those attachments, what this person, I was supposed to be with you or create with you. It just letting that go will take care of that. It's just going to naturally take care of itself, like it always did. So that jumping off to fly, it has to be done through complete faith. So here I have Ten of Wands versus the Magician, and what this speaks about is the hardworking person, the manifester, the burden that sometimes we carried from all this, even light work, not just physical work people do in jobs when they do their 24/7, but also it's about that burden that we felt, a spiritual burden. Oh, these relationships, why do I have to do that? Why it's so hard? But the Ten of Wands versus the Magician is the magician, the magi, the spiritual alchemist knows the reason why this is happening. And it's not hard for them to do the work, because in the end you have this beautiful soul alchemy. You have soul in the human body, and people going with pure awe because you've managed to incorporate that so that your whole body radiates that. And for me, when I had this reading today, the person said that what I got was the star archetype, right? And she said, that's so you, because I even see you lighted with this crown of the stars. And although I know in a way my highest aspect is the star princess, is the stellar goddess, but here I'm a human. And this human aspect is just as divine. It's no less than. It's no less perfect than. So what we're doing with this union is not just we're saying twin flames are uniting. All aspects of ourselves are uniting in this wholeness. the stellar, the galactic, the human. That's why I created the course, the multidimensional ascension versus earthly ascension. I explain all that's taking place on a bigger, to our, to our more direct environment, to what we're experiencing as human souls now. So this Ten of Wands versus the Magician is letting go that need to achieve, to establish, to know everything, to carry the burden, because sometimes when we know things, there's a burden. But the unknowingness, the willingness to live in the new unknown, this is the kind of unknown we haven't even felt before, maybe. That's what's going to get us to the next step. And I know I've been saying this before, but each time it gets bigger. What I've felt for months now is this absence of the guides. I'm not saying they're there, I know, because I haven't felt as much tingling on my face and my whole body since I don't know when. But it's getting more embodied, and although I feel presence with that, I also feel a lack of insights, because they're kind of stepping aside and they're just observing me. That's where I am, just my own master here. What am I going to do? And knowing that it's not a mistake, that each choice leads to the next one. And that's that divine trust. There can be no mistakes. So that's why I said before, the universe makes no mistakes. It's just a playground for us to expand further on. And each expansion is, in a way, harder. But it's not harder to that extent that makes us really feel the word hard. The word is really inappropriate here. It's just more, the voids are getting deeper. But because the voids are getting deeper, the creations are getting deeper as well. We're getting deeper. So also I got the Ace of Wands, which is creativity, which is perfect for the Aries period, because it's about new beginnings, the emergence, the resurgence of our true self, and we want to create new things. Maybe there were some things we didn't put up the shelf, and I wanted to as April began, and still I couldn't do some things. And a part of me went like, what? I thought this was already supposed to be finished. I wanted to do it before this and that. And again, it's the logic that doesn't always know. And it's okay, like I said, to have that drive, to have that ambition, because it's leading us to where we really want to be. But it's not always going to be the way that we want it to be. So the Ace of Wands is also an archetype we're working with, plus the Two of Wands, which is being in our empire. This is what we now created, but in a free way. We're no longer, it's kind of like you create this empire, you create a space of invitation, but you don't just wait for others to come, you also you step out of your comfort zone. You come out into the world, like, hello world, this is me, that kind of energy, right? Because it's about being in this empire, our sacred space that we created, but also taking note of our achievements and yet opening to more and thinking, what's next? What's coming next? So what's coming for me? These add-ons to our purpose are going to be different things. For a lot of you, it might be becoming a part of a group, getting more divine companions in your circle, but because it's you enriched your circle, you wanted to move beyond your comfort zone, and you were willing to say, okay, this is what I mastered, but I know this is not where I end. Anytime we think there's an ending to something, we ourselves block the perception of expansion. But whenever we know that we are actually just constantly living in mastery, even when I say masters, it's still rigid, right? To the degree we're just beings in constant cosmic and human self-expansion and mastery, because it's always something more to master. There's always something new, and this where we are now, it's huge. And that's why I've been getting these messages for April, that it's going to be big. And we don't yet see everything, because what's the energetic kind of template for it is felt, but sometimes our human logic still wants to apply it directly to a certain physical experience, because it does not have the understanding. And when the understanding is not yet there, don't push it. Like I said before, when sometimes we want things so badly, but there's like this mastery of how we work with choice. We don't have to filter, zoom in everything right away. The right approach is when there might be more options. Like this Two of Wands is also that you have your empire, but there's also other empires, and you're just overlooking at the landscapes, and you know that you are to merge yourself with the greater selves, with the other selves, with the more selves of the one self. What this means is to be open so much that you might have more options. Maybe when you're still indecisive, it doesn't mean now you're a person who's always confused. It just means that that click hasn't yet been created, because you're still exploring. You're still in that, I'm enlarging my world, my reality, and that's perfect. I'm not yet focalizing it. I'm not yet saying, this is exactly where my focus is going, so take note of that. Because this simply means that you don't have to focus with that zoomed in laser beam filtering, before you really feel that's what you're to create. So we're not to be hasty, we're to be patient and observant, but really know when is the period to gather, to reflect, and then zoom in to something that really feels right for you out of all the multi-layered experiences you're kind of pondering and reflecting through. And like I said, we cannot transcend something if we haven't had the stage for that to become a physical experience. We cannot cheat ourselves through it, because it will come back to us and we're like, I need this experience. No, I'm too enlightened to have that experience. Talk to the hand, please. It's almost like we're trying to cheat our way through our human mastery. We cannot do that. So let loose, relax, have that experience, and then see what happens. Did you transcend it by simply allowing yourself to experience it, and to know that everything is already for the favor of you. It's working for your favor. It's working for your benefit. And when we have that perspective, we don't see things anymore as opposing us or blockages and, you know, misconceptions. That's all this is. It's not yet complete openness. Because I used to say no to things before too. And I'm not saying we have to be so extreme as in the movie Yes Man, where all you do is just say yes, even to things that don't resonate. Just say yes to what feels right in the moment without thinking, is that right? Is that correct? Is that a right decision? There's always this scaling happening, right? So these add-ons to our purpose are going to come from a space which is more unified. And that's why we've gathered these tools, we've learned the lessons, now it's tools. But because things are no longer the same, we cannot apply them the same way that we used to before. So maybe I also had some visions. And envisioning is not the same as, you know, when you say I'm having to visualize. The envisioning comes from the soul. Having to manifest by heart with visualizing something is still a bit like from the mind, and it's more flat, it's not as rich when you're envisioning. And when you're envisioning, a lot of the times we'll get the higher ideals. But these higher ideals, again, are parts of us, and it takes time for that to be distilled from the ethereal into matter, like I said, and it's good for us to just stay with what is. It doesn't mean if we don't do something or we're not guided, now we're procrastinating. Even if we are, it's for a reason. But now we're at this point where our masterful perception of blockages is changing, and they're not truly blockages, and we see that. So they're all about our personal divine timing, and we're mastering that divine timing. I also want to answer this question someone sent me, which is about groups and soul groups. And since I talk a lot about, you know, working with greater group consciousness and with groups, someone asked me if we really have to be a part of only one soul group, and what does that mean? Can we be a part of more soul groups, and if they're leaders in a soul group? So the thing is, you know, sometimes I feel people confuse still our soul evolution and our soul fragmentation, and how our soul divided, and how our soul travels through our own soul, through the soul group, the cluster of the how do you call it? The greater soul group, and then the monad, and the presence of the I am. So the thing is that sometimes we confuse that for, you know, you meet people in the physical, right? And we confuse it, is that person my soulmate? Is that from the soul group? Is that person this and that? Well, they might be from our extended soul group. But the thing is that before coming here, we've decided which groups we want to be a part of on the human level. So sometimes we confuse being a part of a soul group, and then how is that playing out in the group of our human divine companions? And I've noticed this in myself, because when I connect or commune with certain beings, they feel very at home, but they don't yet feel fully home. Like today, when we had the session, and I said to the person, wow, you're really aware, and you also have that beautiful priesthood energy. And they said to me, well, yeah, like similar cause, but still different frequencies, still different beings, different soul lineage. And I said, yes, exactly, because when we are within that white brotherhood, which is the service to divine creation, to all life in creation, is we're all working for the same cause. And the metaphor used, the person said, we're almost like superheroes, each one has our power, and that's so true. It's a beautiful analogy, because we are like that. And that's why when sometimes we search too much for the soul group we wish to belong to, and there's not full resonance, again we get ahead of ourselves, and again we want to put things in a box. So how about I recommend you to trust yourself that on a soul level, you already know everything. The grouping, it's like your soul came out of that group, right? Or at the same time, when you look at it from the other polarized principle, your soul enters a greater group. When you master yourself, it moves back into more of the group synthesis, right? It carries its own imprint and then puts it in this greater aspect that we call the group of these souls. And together they're called a group soul when you look at the whole beings, different beings, soul beings in that group. So we all have, of course, we're all one unique soul, one unique aspect within that group. There's just one group, that's our close soul group, our soul cluster. But that cluster has, again, the sisterly, brotherly cluster of that oversoul group. So what takes place is that is a natural positioning of our soul. It's something that we're just always part of. But as our souls traveled and moved through the worlds of density and matter, they joined and created alliances with different beings and different groups. And sometimes here as humans, we still have a little bit of confusion of that. So we have alliances, like we have alliances, and I talk about this in my mastery courses. I talk about these beings we kind of, or different priesthoods or sisterhoods, brotherhoods we belong to. Like I talk about a lot about the Shekinah sisterhood or the Elohim brotherhood. Or sometimes there's a lot of people from the fairy groups. There's just, we feel a resonance with a certain being through that core frequency of that group affiliation. So the goals within the group will kind of bring us together. They will create the fusion. And with this April energy, because with every month we go deeper into this grouping energy because we're emerging within ourselves. And what do you do when you master that? Like I said, you want to move and expand your surroundings. You want to make love with the greater merging, right? So sometimes these things, or like Melchizedek priesthood, right? These things are different alliances and affiliations that we're kind of familiar with, and they just resonate or not. And that's why when we plug into different spiritual resources online, different materials, something will resonate more than something else. It's just different tones. It's just maybe you belong to this, or I really resonate with the Atlantean priesthood, and that's kind of like my essence. But the thing is, these are, like I said, partial groups that we, on the level of exploring density we were used to, and we can belong to many, but our soul group, our soul's evolution, where our soul emanated from and started experiencing these fragments and through these experiences of the worlds of matter, are something else. This is just one group for you, because we are being divided. It's like how we were created out of that source, from that emergence, through these creation principles. And I talk about that in my mastery courses, as well as I have a multidimensional ascension course. So this is it for this video. I think there's much more I could share, but as always, I have many subsequent videos that kind of follow through as we go through the month and through our initiations. And a lot of us, like I said, we're self-initiated. We know what this means for us. And I just want to make that final announcement now, which is about the final add-on to my purpose right now. As I've said to you before, that I will restart with my personal Skype sessions again, but they're in a different format now. They're going to be focused more on the beloved integration. So helping people who really feel they're being called to this path to become their own beloved. So when you have human relations and you experience these relationships, what are they, how meaningful, and what kind of meaning, what you're integrating through them, so that you can embrace more and more of your wholeness, because that's what we're doing. And these sessions are mostly focused on this enlightened partnership essence, so that we can actually create these communities of divine love by becoming whole ourselves, fully integrated being. Because if there's even one aspect of us that we haven't fully embraced, we don't yet fully feel the beloved. We don't yet fully feel the awe of that experience. So that's all I can call it on this level. It's not even a twin flame for me. It's nothing like that. It's just the beloved essence that we've embraced so deeply within ourselves. And from my own mastery in that note, I feel that's my calling now, to help people to merge with that. So go to my front page. The link is also down below. See how you can schedule that personal appointment. But as I've shared with you before, I have two main levels of what I created. So first are the 7 initiations through mastery courses. This is all about physical self-mastery through the understanding of creation principles and how we live them. And there's also a bonus additional one with the advanced level. And then the second part is multidimensional ascension, which is more galactic in how it fits into our earthly experience, or plural experiences. So take a look at that. And also these Holy Spirit messages, these attunements are starting off again. And I think there will be much new things coming too. I'm still figuring out the group thing, how to have meetings with beings, so we can have a particular chosen topic of the ascension, because what I feel called to is bring the knowledge of how we're going to live in these higher realms now, because that's what we're creating, a lot of us. So when it's time, I feel this will be guided. This will be more of a group level. what I feel it's important for us to start also working as groups. And that it's more interactive, not just me doing the courses and sharing this way, but this next level where it can be interactive, when we can each hold our soul consciousness and kind of bring that aspect together with the group, like the Atlantean priesthood energy. So that's it for this. I hope you like this update. There was a lot to share, and as always, could be more. It could go on forever, you know me, but eventually someone has to do the So thank you for staying updated, for supporting, donating, sharing. A lot of what's coming through, it was even coming through in my reading, is really embracing the physical aspect, which for a lot of it, where we held captive ourselves, captive, and a lot of judgment is the money. And we've discussed today this topic of, for example, the real Jesus and Magdalene, and many people having this perception of these people being so poor, and it wasn't even true, you know. Even Saint Germain had a lot of abundance, a lot. And because their purpose was very grand, so they needed to have resources so they can travel, they can expand, they can be free in that note, and a lot of us need to embrace that. So thank you for understanding this as well when you're looking into kind of like if this benefits you, co-creating yourself with an equalized energy exchange. I know when I listen to Larkma, and I really love Larkma Pleiadian Council and what they share, and they always say at the end, please consider the equal energetic support so we can continue to share messages freely this way. And this kind of stands for me and everyone doing this work this way, devotedly, unconditionally, but not fully for free, because we need sustenance so we can continue to do our work here, and it's going to expand very much very soon. So thank you for your love, support, your feedback, and as always, so much love is in power. I love you all so very much. Have a beautiful month of April. Don't forget to play and laugh a lot. Bye-bye for now. Bye. Don't be afraid of the flow. Just embrace it and become it. Fully live it. Right here now. Through the love that you are and always have been. Divine Creator you are. And so it is.